Hello, everyone. Welcome to Never on the Back Foot. In today's WPL morning show, we discussed what we thought, would have been a probably, nail-biting sort of an encounter, but turned out to be quite one-sided, right? Gujarat Giants delivered probably one of the more complete performances this season. They crushed UP Warriors by 45 runs. It was a proper annihilation, right? In this discussion, we obviously look at what were some of the major talking points and what were some of those performances and spells, that ensured this win. At one point, you could see, right, Gujarat themselves were under so much pressure, having lost so many wickets. But Sophie Devine once again showed what she's made of, played such a competitive, amazing knock to ensure that they had 153 on board. And UP, eventually sort of succumbed under pressure, courtesy again, a great bowling performance by Gujarat. So, Soorya, again, over to you. Like, welcome to the show. And just your first thoughts on the game itself, right? You did mention that it was slightly one sided, but didn't think it would be this much.
Certainly, I remember texting you hoping that there'd be a super over for a change because we've got to discuss a couple of one-sided games. I really wanted to discuss something that would have probably made us go wow and probably not necessarily pull our hair out, but just go uh, get us wondering. Oh my goodness, are we seeing the WPL start to really peak now and really enter that business end in such a manner that we see a lot more exciting contests. In fact, I think there were a lot more exciting ones at the start of the league. The very first game, then that game between Delhi and Gujarat as well. But the Vadodara leg has been a little bland so far. But I'll be honest, I didn't expect these outcomes. I mean, look, I'm not surprised Gujarat Giants won, but I thought that they probably lost momentum at the wrong time, and UP Warriors were just picking up pace at the right time. So that's where I thought that the edge was with UP Warriors. In saying, and of course, I did not expect Mumbai Indians to lose the other day either. But in saying that, I think massive couple of points for Gujarat Giants, effectively a 4-pointer. And finally, we've got another team outside RCB that's got 6 points or more. So that just tells you how every game is critical. And, this just, it's so reflective of the state of the points table that Gujarat Giants were actually right at the bottom before this game, and now they're second, just behind RCB, and they won by a pretty big margin as well. So that will help their net run rate. Net run rate will be critical. Doesn't matter whether you finish second or third, but between 3 and 4, it's going to be critical. So good performance. I think they were fantastic with the ball, scrappy with the bat. But again, when in doubt, you need some divine intervention, and Gujarat Giants have that in quite a literal sense in Sophie Devine. So great stuff once again by Giants to get back to winning ways. I think they needed that.
Yeah, they absolutely needed that sort of a win to add impetus to their campaign, and now they have pipped all the teams to sort of go second in that table, so they'll definitely be happy with that result. Let's also take this live chat comment. I probably saved it for later, but now's better time than any. I know nobody goes on to ask, or probably just a comment that goes on to say, Shika Pandey's bowling is the issue. Asha should bowl all 4 overs. She is their main spinner. Again, now, Surya, I think the internet is quite divided on this, right? Shika Pandey does bowl in those economical overs, but last night she was just absolutely tombed, right? Especially that last over, and Sophie Devine was standing like a little away from the crease and was still able to like
Yes.
middle the ball that beautifully. And even the comment goes on to add that Asha should probably bowl all of her 4 overs. She's looked slightly off color, but then again, not being able to replicate her RCB days
Yeah.
glory. So, like, how do you see all of this play out?
I agree. And especially in yesterday's case, I thought Meg Lanning did a good job in giving Kranti Gowd her 4 up top because she was doing well, just go through with it. And Kranti Gowd bowled an excellent spell. But this was the kind of pitch where the ball was stopping, the ball was turning. Chloe Tryon bowls 4 overs, and that itself should tell you how the pitch is. And this is with absolutely no disrespect to Chloe Tryon, by the way, but in this team, you don't expect Chloe Tryon to give you 4 overs. You want two from her on a given day. She's given you four, and she's done a good job. So that itself should tell you exactly how this pitch is. So how has Asha not bowled her 4 out on a day when she was looking pretty threatening as well? Let me tell you, she bowled pretty well yesterday, and Deepti Sharma didn't bowl out her 4 either. So I couldn't understand that. And in the death overs, Deepti Sharma bowls a lot at the death. Asha is not averse to bowling at the death. Don't forget that 2024 season when RCB rode on Asha bowling at the death to win the title. Asha, Molyneux, and Shreyanka Patil, of course. So I'm very surprised, and on this pitch, unfortunately, there's just one bowling performance that really kind of sticks out in the sense it really wasn't up to standard. And look, I think Shikha Pandey is one of the finest fast bowlers that India have produced. But it's been a tough season for her. But even otherwise, just going by the conditions, I'm really surprised that Meg Lanning did not bowl more spin at the death. I understand Sophie Devine can be lethal, but look, you got to play the conditions as well. And if anything, on that pitch, the pace of Shikha Pandey was probably more of a luxury for a batter, especially Sophie Devine in this case, to go after. So it was a surprise, and yeah, Asha should have bowled at least one more. And I think the fact that she was introduced that late, that itself was a surprise. But the thought process behind that, I guess Meg Lanning might be the best person to answer that. But personally, I think I'm really surprised that your fast bowler bowled her four out, but Deepti Sharma did not. And Asha, I mean, when Deepti doesn't, then of course Asha as well. You wouldn't necessarily expect that to be the case, but then when you put it against Chloe Tryon bowling her four out, it is a little perplexing. I mean, I still feel it was a chaseable target, but it could have been kept even lower, and maybe the story could have been different.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you there. And thank you so much for your comment there to Unknown Nobody. Because I think when you just look at the way, UP Warriors has sort of went about with their bowling effort itself, it did feel like there was a lot left to be desired, right? You have Asha Shobna and Deepti Sharma who have sort of proven, right, that they can bowl in the death, although, they might have not been in the best form this season. You'd still, sort of bank them to give you those 4 overs. But both of them, just bowling the 2 overs and clearly, leaving a lot of us fans confused in that regard. But again, now Surya, just coming back to the chronology of the match itself. Let's start off with the toss and the outcome of that, right? Like UP Warriors chose to field first. Did you think like the conditions again suited that call? We've seen how history has sort of favored that sort of a decision, and even the surface, right? It just sort of got slower, and eventually, did you think it backfired for them?
I mean, the thing is, it's been very difficult to read the surface in Vadodara in the first place. So when in doubt, I think the idea is to try and chase. And if the pitch is going to play slow from the beginning, then you hope that there's a bit of dew. So if you are absolutely sure there's not going to be any dew, then yes, batting first makes a lot of sense. But I guess that's where perhaps the fact that they could unleash their spinners and probably take advantage of a dry deck is what would have been in the minds of the UP Warriors when they made that decision, and then hoping that the wicket eased out, because just a couple of nights prior as well, on a used surface, we saw Delhi Capitals chase it down fairly comfortably as well against Mumbai Indians. So that would have been the thought process, and I guess that's it becomes a little tricky. And now with 3 games done, you probably get an idea as to how the surface could play in terms of the bounce and obviously the turn levels, and at the same time also with regards to the dew and what the level of dew is in Navi Mumbai. We could very clearly see that it was a big factor, and the wicket somehow eased out in the second innings. It's not necessarily been the case over here, even though I thought it did feel that way in the MI-DC match, although MI didn't bowl all that well either. So now I think with each team having played a game, they'll have a better idea. And it'll be very interesting to see if they actually choose to bat first going forward. I will not be surprised if RCB do that, simply because they've got that, um, you know, position of strength in the points table, where at least if they win one more and seal that spot in the final, they might just say, okay, you know what, let's bat first and let's actually try this out. Of course, they've batted first twice already, and they've already batted first and won a game, but they might be more willing to experiment before the final beckons. But the other teams with so much more at stake, when in doubt, I think you just see teams erring on the side of bowling first, because they can just pace their chase accordingly. And again, as I said, I think that was a chaseable target, to be honest. Despite Sophie Devine giving the Giants 150 plus, I do feel that it was chaseable. And yeah, there was some moments of rotten luck as well for UP Warriors early in that chase that probably just sparked a downward spiral.
Yeah, because after that chase, never really took off, and they just couldn't catch steam, right? We will obviously talk about UP Warriors and their run chase, but just talking about the playing 11s and the team combinations itself, Surya, I think we were too having a discussion about, hey, isn't Sophie Devine just batting way too down in that order? Danny Whitehorse makes her presence in that, playing 11 for Gujarat. So, again, just what were your thoughts on the team combinations that both teams opted for?
Second rant in as many live shows because I was on about how Amelia Kerr did not play in the last game. Look, I think I did mention last time as well that maybe Gujarat might want to consider Danny White Hodge because they need some batting ammunition there simply because one of the bowlers is going unused, and that's precisely why they ended up playing Danny White Hodge. My confusion was who would sit out because look, Georgia Wareham is really lethal as an end overs hitter, and of course you have those overs of leg spin. But even if you keep that aside, for her role there, she's pretty good enough to really play that role. We've seen it a number of times, in the WPL for Australia, even for RCB. I think she had some of those very impactful cameos. But eventually, I think they decided that her bowling wasn't up to standard, and they probably wanted to spread the ammunition out more. So let's get Danny White Hodgson, who's used to batting in the middle order for England as well in 50 over cricket, but they put her up top. I did not expect them to go with that move of batting her up top simply because the one you moved out was Sophie Devine. The kind of form she's been in, you do not want to waste that. I get the idea. You want to like just spread things out because now suddenly, last year, as I said, last year they had Litchfield and Doughton in that middle order, so the middle order looked a lot more robust. This time around, if you lose two early wickets, you're in trouble. And you take each of Gujarat Giants wins. They've had a quick start. They've begun well in the power play. They've gone positively. It's a direct correlation and causation effect. You get them out early, they are in trouble. It makes it difficult for them to recover. Hence, they had Sophie Devine. And look, yesterday too, they were in a spot of bother. I mean, they were 115 for 6, 93 for 4 at one stage. So it really took them having Sophie Devine there to take them to that target, to that total that they eventually did. So I get the idea, but again, and I think they will be very flexible with their entry point. So if Danny White Hodge and Beth Mooney start well, and let's say bat out the power play, you will probably see Ash Gardner come in at 3 and then Devine at 4. I'd still want to see Devine bat a little higher, give her a little more time. I know Gardner's batted very well too this season, but Sophie Devine's form, just make the most of it because she's the one player who I feel, if Gujarat Giants are to win this title, I think Sophie Devine is going to have the single biggest impact, going by her current form and just how good she's been with bat and with the ball. In fact, I was watching the game with my mother last evening, and when Sophie Devine came on to bowl, she just asked me, I mean, she's done so much with the bat, she's also bowling. Why is she doing everything? So it just tells you what a big impact Sophie Devine's had on this team. So it's going to be very, very critical that they get best use of her. And to the Giants' credit, I think they've got entry points right from last year. Credit to Gardner and Michael Klinger for getting that bit right. But again, just don't waste Sophie Devine, is what I'd say. So just be careful with that. And they'd obviously hope for runs from Danny White Hodge as well, having got her in. Thought she started all right yesterday, though she couldn't convert it. But I think time will give a better answer to how this goes. And they're backing Anushka Sharma, ensuring that she's flanked with experience on either side as well. So that's pretty good too. So personally, yes, not as big a rant as MI leaving out Amelia Kerr, but yes, just ensure that you use Sophie Devine well.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you on that one, right? Because Sophie Devine, again, although brings in so much value, it's right. It's ideal, right, to use her at the right positions. And considering they used her as an opener and then bringing her down as low as coming in at number 4 or 5. At least, yeah, I think in my book felt like it was sort of like not using her to the best of her abilities. And just on the point of Gujarat Giants and the batting effort that they did have, I think they were off to a great start, right? Beth Mooney and Danny White Hodge ensuring that electric start. But it didn't last too long because Danny White Hodge was dismissed. Anushka Sharma too, right? Sort of brought in that momentum, but she too couldn't do a lot. Ash Gardner fell for 5. Again, the entire onus of the innings sort of fell on Ash Gardner, right? On Sophie Devine. I think the kind of knock that she played looked very scratchy. Till the end, you felt like, what is happening? Like, wickets are falling around her. There's, runouts happening and everything. Yet, she sort of held her ground. Again, if you were to, just contextualize that knock and like how crucial was that knock, proving to be a match-defining knock and ensuring that a par total was converted to a winning one?
Absolutely. I mean, what a player she is. And it's just remarkable how she absorbs the pressure. She did it for New Zealand too in the World Cup recently. I think they just weren't getting those starts. I think Susie Bates had a pretty rough start to the tournament. Georgia Plummer wasn't scoring runs. Amelia Kerr wasn't scoring runs. It was all on Sophie Devine. And it all would have felt like a bit of a deja vu yesterday for coming out to bat. The good thing is she has such a strong working equation with someone like Beth Mooney from Perth Scorchers that they get along really well. That rapport and that chemistry is really visible when they bat together. And of course, one thing about Beth Mooney's game, at least, that really stands out to me is she is an outstanding runner between the wickets. I'm very surprised that she's still not had that big score, but that's kind of put the onus then on Devine to do her bit, and I think Devine has just been phenomenal in that regard. Obviously there was that miscommunication with Bharti Fulmali and a pretty chaotic run out, but it was imperative that Devine was there until the end. That was the only way that Gujarat Giants were going to get to the score that they did. And once again, the great players just find a way. And as you said, she was looking scratchy. I think she was going at less than a run a ball for her first 25 deliveries, but they're the ones who can absorb pressure and wait for the right time to crank it up by a couple of notches and find the fence. And when you're bowling to Sophie Devine, there's very little margin for error in the first place. She's a destructive hitter. She's got a great range of shots. She's standing way outside her stumps, and she's still unsettling a bowler of Shikha Pandey's pedigree. So it just tells you how good a player she is. And you can see very clearly why Gujarat Giants, I think Sophie Devine was the first player in the player auction, and Gujarat Giants went up to 2 crore to secure her services. She's showing just exactly why. Even at this stage of her career, she's batting as though she's at her absolute peak, and it's just a delight to watch. And yeah, I mean, I'll say it again: if Gujarat Giants are to go deep, Sophie Devine is going to be key. Dare I say, I think she's been the second most valuable player of the tournament, at least, if not the most, alongside Nicola Carey. Because yes, these are two teams who are still scrapping around to make it to the playoffs. But again, you take these two players out and you wonder what will happen to those teams. So that just tells you how good these individual campaigns have been for Devine and Carey. And yeah, long may it continue, because Sophie Devine is someone I personally just love watching. I think she's also a great character and a great ambassador of the game. So brilliant performance. And yeah, 2 more games to go. If I'll just reiterate that she's got to keep firing, and if that happens, Gujarat Giants should be there in the playoffs. I know I said that yesterday's game was a knockout, and I tilt the scales in UP Warriorz favor, and I went with MI too. So clearly, I'm not good at the prediction game, but look, honestly, it's hard to see them not progressing if Devine continues playing in this manner.
Because when you just have a look at Sophie Devine's knock from last night, such an interesting wagon wheel, right? I was just having a look at ESPN Cricket Info and their wagon wheel. Her most productive shot was, of course, the slog sweep. The 2 sixes that she got right in that final over was like remarkable to see. But then just a dissection of that knock, she took 18 singles, was just putting herself out there, hit 2 boundaries, and the 3 sixes that sort of ensured that she was able to get to that 50-run mark. I think it was a very, very gritty knock, and in the larger context of the game, really, really made sense. And the fact that she stuck around, right, with so many partnerships, I think more notably the one with Beth Mooney, it was just what, a 28-run partnership of 20 balls, again, was very, very important. And with the rest of the batters coming in too, right, it was all small, small partnerships that really ensured that, Gujarat had a fighting total on the board. But Soorya, before we just move on to UP Warriors and their bowling effort, if you just had to look at Gujarat Giants and the rest of their batting card, I mean, it really cuts a sorry figure, right? Besides, besides Sophie Devine, the rest of the batters were just dismissed early. The likes of Kanika Ahuja, Bharti Fulmali, Kashmi Gautam too, right? Again, they kind of got starts but couldn't really capitalize from that. Do you think it's again a cause for concern that the batting is just like floundering a little bit and is like heavily dependent on again the same usual suspects do the bulk of heavy lifting?
I mean, there are two ways of looking at this. One is the fact that if the overseas contingent does not click for Gujarat Giants, they are going to be in trouble. But this is also the second game, of course, they played in Vadodara. But are they coming to terms with the pitch and the lack of bounce? You saw even Devine and Mooney not come to terms with it against RCB. So there are two ways of looking at this. Either they're just trying to get a hang of these conditions, or they're just struggling. But in general, I think they are pretty reliant on their overseas players, because look, the Indian players, as talented as they are, and I think they've done a good job. Kanika Ahuja had a very good knock at number 3 as well earlier in the tournament. Bharti Fulmali has been adding that firepower. as has Kashvi Gautam and Anushka Sharma. Again, she's just been excellent. But these are not the players you would expect to do bulk of the scoring. So it's not their job to do that. They need to complete the jigsaw. So it's Mooney, Gardner, and Devine. It's all centered around them, and now Danny White Hodge as well. So that is the way the lineup is structured. A lot of it comes down to their first auction as well, because they just had such an ordinary auction, if I can say that, because they just did not get a marquee Indian batter or an Indian core in the first place. That it's directly impacted their retentions for this cycle as well. So they've only had to try and improve upon what they had, and I think in that regard, from where they were to where they are now, it's a drastic improvement. But that's where you'll always find the odd hole here and there. And they'd hope that Anushka Sharma can really develop into this bankable batter. I'll still say it. I'm expecting her to play for India this year. And they would hope that she develops into that player soon enough. And of course, if Yastika Bhatia was there, it might have also helped the team to a great extent. But they definitely want some more consistency. This is the same batting lineup that also got 200 plus in the first two games, and they are looking to play an aggressive brand of cricket. So days that it doesn't come off, it can go either way. So, but I think their approach is very clear. They want to play an attacking brand of cricket. But the good part is, even though they did not get a massive score yesterday, the bowlers finally stepped up, and I think that was important because their bowlers were struggling throughout this tournament. Yesterday it was a different story, despite playing just the six options and not the seven options. So, I mean, I personally feel that actually worked out better for them. Little more probably in a little while, but yeah, I think they'll definitely want more consistency. And if Mooney fires, I think they'll be fine. They just need big scores from Beth Mooney to come their way. If that happens, it'll be a different story because everyone else will just be liberated to play their shots.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. I think you can't really fault Gujarat Giants and their management, right, for sort of coming up with a squad complexion that obviously depends on their overseas contingent to, really get the wagon moving, and the rest of the Indian batters, sort of chipping in and go. I think that's the beauty, right, of the WPL, that it's not
Yeah.
necessarily always the Indian players who will lead you to victory. In an ideal case scenario, you would want that, but at the end of it, these are franchises. These are like independent, like teams that want the best for their,
I
each
mean,
of their teams here.
Mumbai Indians is a classic example, and the two titles riding on their overseas score and Harmanpreet Kaur, so that tells a story in itself.
Exactly, and we wouldn't fault these franchises for sort of wanting to
Yeah,
go with
absolutely.
this philosophy. But yeah, I mean, all in all, whatever that batting effort was, Gujarat did end up with 153 for 8 on the board. I think a lot of it did go down to how Sophie Devine went after Shikha Pandey in that final over. Such a very cheekily going on to add, and RCB did go up to 2.2 CR for Shikha Pandey. But UP did eventually get her services, and in this game, it sort of backfired. And again, just sort of like throwing the spotlight on UP's bowling effort itself. We did talk about how we felt like probably Deepti Sharma and Asha Shobna could have gotten those 2 overs. Was Chloe Tryon your best option for all four? Not really sure, but I think to specifically spotlight one performance has to be that of Kranti Gaud. Right, this season we really thought she's again going to continue the kind of performance she had put in the previous season that ensured her India call up, and she delivered, right? 2 for 18, an economy of 4.5, getting massive wickets up front itself, like Danny Whitehall and Anushka Sharma, and like she's just looking at her electric best. So again, Surya, if you had to talk about Kranti's effort and the rest of that UP Warriors bowling attack, what would your impressions be of that?
Very impressive from Kranti Gaud. I really liked what I saw of her last evening because she's not really had the kind of campaign where she's taken a truckload of wickets or she's even bowled with a whole deal of control. But yesterday was a different story, and I really see an intelligent bowler in her because uh, something I saw in the World Cup was she was also using the wobble seam delivery, and that is something the knowledge of which has not permeated the Indian cricket ecosystem across men's and women's cricket. It is still very, very, very nascent. And for a young bowler like Krantik out to actually try and work on that delivery, that it speaks volumes of someone who's probably a thinking bowler. And there's a lot of good raw material, there to tap into, which we saw last year as well. And I think that's why she got that call up to the Indian team, and she's a World Cup winner. She did a good job in the World Cup too. She did have her struggles as well, but look, you're talking of someone who's very raw. and you'd expect that. You can't expect a finished product to just burst onto the scene and just start delivering match-winning performances one after another. So the second season, backing up what she did last year, was always going to be a bit of a challenge. But I think she did a great job yesterday. It would definitely do a confidence a world of good. An excellent ball to get rid of Danny White Hodge. And again, as I said, I think it was a good move to just stick with her, because when she's doing well, she's bowling with control. It makes sense to just uh, go hard. And UP Warriors are one team that can really do that, because they have spinners who can bowl at the death. All three of their spinners, frontline spinners, can bowl at the death. So it allows them to front load their seamers if they want to. And pretty impressive performance. The rest of them did a good job as well. I thought Deepti's first over was a little off the radar. She got away, bowled a full toss as well to Mooney, which somehow just found deep extra cover. But she got away there, but she did deliver Gardner's wicket. Sophie Eccleston, I mean, no word of praise would be enough for her. She's just a phenomenal performer. And yeah, I think outside the way in which Lanning used her options, in certain phases, like not bowling out Asha and Deepti, as I said. Outside that, I thought it was a largely good performance, and yeah, probably couldn't have asked a whole lot more. Yes, Shikha Pandey, that last over, I mean, it happens sometimes when you run into Sophie Devine and you're talking of a quality player anyway in Shikha Pandey. But outside that, again, I think this was one of UP Warriors' better bowling performances this season. And for the composition they had on paper, they should have had a lot more, but this was one of their better ones.
Yeah, fair enough. There's not anything more, that bowling attack can put up, because again, we're talking about a very competitive Gujarat Giants batting unit, and they did manage to get those crucial wickets, except like one batter who proved to be a thorn in the proceedings. And before we move on to UP Warriors and their run chase itself, we have a question coming in here, which asks us: are you happy with the number of people showing up to match, WPL, to watch WPL games in Vadodara after Navi Mumbai and the blockbuster games that we got to see? Before I think Soorya answers, I'd definitely say that not happy, because most of the times, you just have a look at the stands and it just looks empty, right? Doesn't make for great optics. And even just the fact that there's just so many break days and all of that in between. Again, keeping in mind, the men's New Zealand India series is going on. Like, I don't know, man. It just feels like we're not riding the wave that the season sort of started with, and the crowds just are, not making up for the same. But Surya, again, just over to you. Like, your thoughts on the same, and anything better that could be done to deal with this?
I thought the game was played behind closed doors when it started yesterday, because I just couldn't hear that crowd buzz, and I was just wondering, wait, where's the turnout? So, and it's a bit of a surprise, because Gujarat Giants, the home team, have played two games. Maybe yesterday's win could just draw more crowds. And tomorrow's a weekend; it's a Saturday, and RCB play, so there's a very good chance that you see more crowds tomorrow, a bigger turnout, even though it's a neutral game, so to say. With RCB and Delhi Capitals playing, but. Yeah, I think Navi Mumbai and Chinnaswamy are probably two grounds that have almost become like the women's cricket capitals of India. And I think we'll probably see it pick up in due course of time, because you take the bilaterals against Sri Lanka and Vizag as well. There were massive turnouts after what happened in the World Cup. You saw huge turnouts there, so might just take a bit of time. India have played at Vadodara before. In fact, the women played before the men played. I think they played Ireland here in Vadodara, if I'm not wrong, in early 2025. So I hope it'll pick up steadily, because some big games are coming up. The tournament's entering its business, and you got just 6 more games now before the knockouts. RCB being there will be a big factor towards drawing crowds, because we know what kind of a fan base they've got all around the country. They're going to come out and they're going to support their players, and you've got superstars there like Smriti Mandana, who will definitely pull the crowds in. But if Gujarat Giants can give their fans more hope that what, we might actually do something special, we might just see a bigger turnout too. So it's a little difficult to gauge on the basis of weekdays and weekends as well. But I'm hoping that it just goes up, because Navi Mumbai is also used to seeing a lot more of WPL. So just a second season for Vadodara. I thought it was decent last year, to be honest. Expecting a little more, but hopefully it'll pick up in due course of time.
Yeah, fingers crossed, honestly. And again, there's no denying, right? RCB games do bring in a lot of crowds. So hopefully, the
Absolutely.
next couple of days, when we see, the women in red and gold take to the field, crowds will also sort of justify by coming in massive numbers. But again, just coming back to this match now, UP Warriors again had their task cut out, right? Chasing 154 off 20 overs. Any given day, Surya, I'm sure you'd agree with me. This is an easy run chase. Meg Lanning will do her due diligence, and you will have partnerships coming in. And it's again a very good lineup, right, for UP Warriors. That has time and again shown that they have defeated Mumbai twice this season, right? This is the same team,
Exactly.
but we got to see something entirely different transpire, right? I mean, the first probably biggest, I'd say, setback to them was losing Kiran Navgire. Her torrid run continues. It's
Yeah.
really, really sad. I think something we were discussing on chat as well, that how can someone have such rotten luck, right? But the fact
Terrible,
that the team
terrible luck.
management continues to persist with her and give her that long rope. Surya, again, what did you make of just that dismissal itself of Kiran's place in this team and going ahead, like as we reach the fag end of the season, will that long rope continue to be handed out to Kiran?
Uh, Look, firstly, I thought 154 was a run chase right up Meg Lanning's alley. I just thought she can bat through and get this job done. But yeah, some rotten luck with her dismissal and with Navgire's dismissal. I did wonder too if UP will continue to back Kiran Navgire. Personally, I would have, and I still would. I thought she could get one more game, and then you see how she bats. And look, she's definitely had a tough tournament. Some of her shot selection decisions have not been the smartest, but what can you even say about that dismissal yesterday? I mean, it's deflected off the keeper's pads and onto the stumps. It's just absolutely rotten, torrid luck. So, again, do you want to give her a break, or do you want to cash in on the fact that here's someone who can single handedly win you a game on her day? And on these slow pitches as well, power becomes a very critical factor. Yes, she's got her shortcomings against movement, but if she hangs around long enough to face spin, she is going to smash spin. Even on this pitch, she's got the reach, she's got the power to be able to do it. So you really want to back that. And I mean, the way I see it, after such a dismissal, you really think the only way forward is upwards. And dare I say, perhaps it's getting to a point where you just know there's a big match winning knock around the corner from Kiran. So are UP Warriors patient enough to back that? Or do you draft in, say, someone like a Gongari Trisha, who is also pretty destructive, from the bench? But at this stage of the tournament, where you got two games to go in the round robin phase and you got to win both of them, so do you make that change? They've got, I think, almost a week now to really reflect and take some time off. But yeah, just some torrid luck, which is bound to turn around in due course of time. So I'd be willing to punt on that, to be very honest, and just back Kiran to come good. The question is, do you want her to stay up top, knowing that teams are bowling seam? Because if you look at UP Warriors remaining games, they're playing RCB and they're playing Delhi Capital. So there's Lauren Bell in one team and there's Marisan Cap in the other. Do you want to expose Kiran Navgire? That is exactly why they had Harleen Deol open against RCB as well, and not Kiran. In the second game the UP Warriors played. So I still expect to turn around and Kiran to come good soon. But yeah, just your heart just goes out to her for what happened yesterday. It was just really, really sad.
Yeah, it was just one of those situations where you feel so helpless, right? For a cricketer of her stature, again, does well domestically, is continue to be given those opportunities, but just can't make the most of it. But really happy to see, UP Warriors sort of trust her to do her thing, and hopefully, she comes good in the next couple of games. But even just looking at UP Warriors and the way they lost wickets, at one stage they were 2 for 1 and 39 for 2 inside those first 5 overs itself, right? It was damaging losing your openers up front that early. And even at one stage when they were 57 for 3 in 7.5, was like mathematically it was still possible, right? That they would chase things down. You still have reliable batters coming in. But again, did you think, Surya, that there was some psychological moment that sort of turned that pressure into panic all of a sudden? And even when you look at the scorecard, no batter faced more than 27 balls. We will talk about Phoebe Litchfield in a bit. But then again, it just felt like it was more of an intent issue, right? UP just couldn't have their batters apply and like bide their time in the wicket the way, Gujarat did. You don't have to look too far. In fact, Gujarat itself with
Yeah.
Sophie Devine, right? The way she went about constructing her, now you just needed that one batter to stick till the end. But somewhere again, it was just an entire batting collapse there.
Absolutely. And you asked if there was one moment where panic might have struck in. I think it was Lanning's wicket because, again, as I said, this is a chase that's up Lanning's alley. And if you look at it, Lanning and Litchfield had a decent partnership. 37 runs. So they were going along pretty well. And Lanning in particular got those square cuts away. And I remember there was one delivery Kashvi Gautam bowled probably on the six stump line, and Lanning cut it. And I just thought, okay, why are you bowling that line? Do not bowl that line. You can place 10 fielders there between short third and point, and she'll still find the gap. So that is Meg Lanning's go-to. So she was going well, and that dismissal, I mean, it probably was a sign that it's not their day. But I also thought Litchfield was trying a little too much. She just looked pretty. I don't know if unsettled is the right word, because I mean she was batting well, and she got quite a few shots away. I mean, first ball that Ash Gardner bowled, she reverse hit her over short third, and you know that Phoebe Litchfield has this outstanding range. I mean, to the extent that she can switch to a right-hander and smash it over long on. I mean, I don't know how. I don't think there's any other batter in the world who does the kind of pulls off these kind of stunts, if I may say so, like Phoebe Litchfield. But I just thought she was trying a little too much yesterday. And look, she is very, very important to this team, because if you're trying to post big scores or chase down big scores, Litchfield is the one point of difference that they have. So I think Lanning's wicket was the turning point. But after Litchfield's wicket, that's when I thought, okay, this is a big task now, for Chloe Tryon, Deepti Sharma, and Shweta Sehrawat. So it was, yeah, the wheels just came off, and Harleen Deol never got going. So yeah, and I was pretty disappointed with Harleen Deol's dismissal. I mean, long on is back, and you're slogging right towards that very fielder, knowing that there's a fielder back. And I thought there were issues with the way she was picking a spot too. I mean, Ash Gardner went full outside the off stump. I remember seeing the field placement where the only fielder out on the offside was long off. So you had a chance to go inside out over the covers, but you swept it to deep square leg instead when there is a fielder there. So and the line, it's not as though the line was at the stumps; it was outside the off stump. So and fairly outside the off stump. So that didn't sit well with me. And you tried slogging one, and I think there was an LBW which was umpire's call, on the replay. So, and right after that, I think mid-on went back, and you ended up hitting it to the same fielder. Probably in Harleen's mind, mid-on was still there, but actually the fielder was pushed back. So these are the things, being, situational awareness at that point of time, which you'd expect better. And I think she's a senior player in her own right to be able to get that right. But yeah, it was just, again, a reflection of things coming apart. Some ordinary shots. I thought Litchfield as well, catching practice to short third. So ordinary shots, but also some rotten luck with the dismissals of the openers. So that was a chase that just never got going eventually, despite Chloe Tryon being unbeaten at the end.
Yeah, all valid points there, Soorya, because, coming to Phoebe Litchfield itself, her 32 coming of just 27 balls, it clearly was a semblance of stability. But as you said, I wouldn't say good delivery, but, just getting under at that stage of the run chase was never going to be ideal. Chloe Tryon, to her credit too, right, sort of held her own. Again, 22 ball, 30 wickets was just falling left, right, center around her, and there wasn't much you could do, right, in a situation like that. Again, just throwing light on Gujarat's bowling effort itself. It's impossible to look past Rajeshwari Gayakwad. It's been really long, since people have spoken about, the kind of match-winning impact that she can have. But her spell, 3 for 16, was something that, was spoken about a lot. And I don't know, she was awarded like player of the match as well. But somewhere, like when you look at Sophie Devine and the kind of all-round impact she had, maybe,
Yes.
it felt like she could have possibly been on the winning end too. Like, again, just what did you make of Rajeshwari Gayakwad's spell? And was that player of the match deserved there?
I think she deserved it for sure. I would have personally gone towards Sophie Devine too, just because they wouldn't have got what they did if not for Devine. But in saying that, I think Rajeshwari Gaikwad deserved it just as much. So fair play. It's just a question of whether there was somebody else you could have potentially given it to. But that decision's been made. And look, this is going to boost Rajeshwari Gaikwad's confidence so much, because she's not necessarily been a regular in the WPL. She's not had a big, because I think she was in and out of the 11 for UP Warriorz as well. She's not really nailed down a spot as such in that regard, and she's not had a big WPL season. She's been out of the Indian team as well for a fair time now. And I saw the signs of Rajeshwari Gaikwad bowling so well in that game against Delhi Capitals. I think she bowled the fifth over in the power play, She was just bowling her Yorker. She was mixing her pace. It was outstanding. One of my friends as well had texted me saying, "What an outstanding over that was." She gave away just 4 runs and that told. And then very next over, Shefali Verma was dismissed. And I thought she was superb that day. The way both left-hand spinners, Tanuja Kanwar as well, the way they just mix their pace, the way they just bowl those shutdown overs. It's such an understated aspect of T20 cricket. And very clearly, the Giants have seen that as well. And so they brought her back into the 11 yesterday. And she's just been superb in terms of how the ball is coming out, how she's just bowling, attacking the stumps, bowling those defensive lines and lengths and varying her speeds as well. It's been pretty much a complete performance, and she's one of the few senior Indian players in this Gujarat Giants team who you'd expect to step up, and she did that. And I think for a couple of games now, I'm seeing better returns from Renuka Singh Thakur as well. So yes, she's been pretty fortunate. She was fortunate yesterday in terms of the wicket, and she does bowl. She does lose control of the in swing a little too often as well. Uh, when she's swinging it into the right hander, it ends up being a wide. But outside that, she still had a couple of good performances. Gaikwad is doing a great job. So you expect that, from you've decided to build an Indian bowling lineup or a largely Indian bowling lineup, and you've got two senior players, and they've stepped up. They've done a very good job. For a couple of games now, and that's what Gujarat Giants would expect. So kudos to Rajeshwari Gayakwad. Really happy for her, and hopefully we'll see more such performances, because I think this has been a very, very good season so far. Small sample size, but she's done really well. I've been very impressed with whatever I've seen so far.
Yeah, agree with you on that one. And I think, I'd probably take back my question of is that player of the match award deserved itself? Because, again, right, it's very subjective. Like, how do you define, like, this performance is deserving or, and as armchair critics, it probably wasn't fair on my part to ask, but great to
No,
see her.
not really. I mean, it's still understandable though, because when I saw Sophie Devine giving the interview right after the game, after Meg Lanning, I thought, okay, looks like Rajeshwari is going to be player of the match, because if not for Devine, they wouldn't have got that score. And of course, the game was in such a situation where when Gaikwad came on and took those wickets, it was already set up. So it's honestly a very valid question as such. But look, I think it's just that, is there someone who could have gotten a little more ahead of Gaikwad? It's as simple as that. But honestly, I think for her own confidence, I'm pretty happy. Perhaps when you look at it, that she got it, because Sophie Devine's has won thousands of these over the years, and probably at this stage of Rajeshwari Gayakwad's career, when she may have been at a crossroads, pretty happy that she's having a season like this, and yeah, hopefully it'll continue.
Yeah, because I think a performance like this not just reassures herself, but even of her fans, right? That she has a lot to offer and can hopefully break down that door, for selection, in the Indian team as well. And even just this aspect, Surya, before we move on to the last concluding bit of the fact that Happy Kumari, right, did not just get a single over there. Like, again, why are you just making up numbers if you're not going to give this player an opportunity to play? So again, like, what did you make of this? Like, I know this is a constant concurrent theme. We will be discussing this in more
Yeah.
detail in one of our other episodes, but then teams just mismanaging their uncapped resources, and like, it's not making any sense, right?
It isn't, and yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Tita Sadhu's ruled out with injury as well. So you'd think that Happy Kumari could have a bigger role to play. Um, I guess it's a case of who are you backing more? Are you trusting your senior players a lot more, which is clearly the case. But was there an opportunity to perhaps bowl Happy Kumari yesterday, knowing that the game was in the bag? I think they could have. Maybe should have bowled the last over had the game gone that far. But maybe the thought process is also, look, let's try and absolutely shut the door down and win by a big margin, boost that net run rate, and we'll take it forward. If she's in the 11, you'd think that she's got a role to play. So we'll probably see it in due course of time, unless, of course, Gujarat Giants decide that, for this pitch, we could perhaps play an extra spinner instead and bring Tanuja Kanwar back, who can also lend a little more with the bat too. So that's a possibility too. I think we'll see that in due course of time as to whether they go that route. There's obviously Jintimani Kalita, whom they've signed right now as a replacement for Titas Sadhu. But yeah, just one over in the previous game too. So they've got to be sure on how they use their resources. But that's where I think the fact that they did not have a seventh bowling option probably worked out for the better for them, because this got Ash Gardner to bowl more, and this just got them to use more of their resources, and not underbowl someone. I mean, in this case, Happy Kumari was the one, but perhaps Gardner's the kind of captain who, there are some captains who are perhaps better off with not too many options there at their disposal, because it can be a little confusing as to whom to use when. And look, it should never come at the cost of Gardner's own overs. Even though she's not had the best season with the ball, I'll still say she is the best bowler in this team. So she's got to be bowling a lot more. So perhaps in that sense, it's not a bad thing that they have just six bowling options. In Happy Kumari's case, hopefully she'll get into the tournament as well soon enough, because you want all your components functioning. You do not want passengers in your team, and it's to no fault of hers. I mean, she's been picked. It's on you to manage a young Indian player. The captain and the coach and the think tank, they need to look at how they use the resources. So hopefully the communication is clear with her as well, because I think she deserves that bit, because you don't want to be standing on the field and wondering, okay, what am I doing here? So I really hope that that's being relayed to her, and we see her get into the tournament steadily enough.
Yeah, because I think even the discourse, right, amongst a lot of fans is that a lot of these Indian uncapped players have just ended up being used as specialist fielders. And it's really
Yeah,
sad, right? I mean, jokingly, yeah, you'd just probably laugh about it. But for the players and themselves, right, their development, it really, I think, takes a backseat. And hopefully there is some thought in that direction as well.
very true.
Avinash obviously had to cheekily add in here Poonam Khemnar as well. 0 runs, 0 wickets, but still in the playing 11. I want the same role in my office. And
And
another
I'm surprised with Poonam Kemner not being used enough, because I thought she was very impressive for UP couple of years ago. I just wonder, because that second opener is not working out, do you want to try her as a pinch hitter maybe at the top, Mumbai Indians? Maybe. I mean, because Sajana as well has been doing so well in the lower middle order. You've clearly got an opening problem. I'm not saying it's going to work. I don't know if it's the right way to go about it. It's a big gamble, but you want to try that out. You never know, because I think she's got decent skill as a player, and I really thought Poonam Kemna was a good signing by Emma at the auction. Surprising that she's not got much to do yet.
Yeah, and hopefully things change for her, right? Because again, Mumbai is a team that's guilty of not making the
Yeah.
most of their players in the team, and relying heavily on their overseas contingent to bring them results. And Avinash also going on to ask us, or probably just get our thoughts on, as a UP Warriors fan, मैं बहुत दुखी हूँ नेहा. कुछ tips दे दो please, क्योंकि RCB 17 season से ही ऐसा ही था. So आप क्या करते थे? A valid question. I think Soorya too can probably add on to this. I think one thing as we RCB fans did was just like believed and like just like stuck around, right? That faith was always there. At some point things would change and get better. I think it's similar with UP Warriors too, right? Again, it's a new team, it's finding its feet.
Yeah,
They don't
exactly.
have a legacy of like a men's IPL team, sort of to lean on and all. So I think it's just important to be patient and see, where the team goes. The team is in great hands with Meg Lanning there.
Yeah.
No two ways of looking at that. Without a shadow of doubt, I really feel UP can, change their fortunes. I know right now they languish right at the bottom of the table after those two very convincing wins versus Mumbai. But I think a few more seasons they will figure things out. They have Abhishek Nair at the helm. I know
Yeah.
Man has admitted he has never coached any women's teams, and he's also acknowledged the mistakes he's made. But I think it's just important to be patient. But Surya, again, you have any point to add here?
And I think it's good that there's no legacy of a men's IPL team perhaps to lean on, because it can be a burden. It can be, if it's a successful team, then it can be a burden that you need to live up to it. Or if it's a team that hasn't necessarily done all that well, like, RCB until last year, or even Delhi Capitals, then that pressure that, okay, the men haven't done it, the women, you please do it. You don't want either of that. I mean, the only common thing is that there is a franchise that has a men's version and a women's version. That's it. Neither has to carry the burden of the other on their shoulders. Neither the men have to nor the women have to. So it's actually not a bad thing for UP. And yes, I'll definitely elaborate on the Abhishek Nair point as well. He has been renowned as an excellent man manager. We've heard this first from Dinesh Karthik, and then steadily enough we heard it from so many of the KKR players the night they won that final in 2024. Varun Chakravarti, Venkatesh Iyer, they were all praising Abhishek Nair there. And KL Rahul as well has spoken about him, and more recently he's worked with Rohit Sharma. So very clearly he's doing something right, and he is a very good man manager. I know that things haven't really gone according to plan, but it also is a big thing to admit that you've made mistakes. And he said that he came out looking like a fool when he changed the batting order and got Harleen Deol to open against RCB. When I thought, look, tactically it actually wasn't such a bad move, because it was understandable you wanted to shield Kiran Navgiri against Lauren Bell and have her attack spin. So, but it's still it's a big thing to come out in the open and actually say that. And I know that there were a lot of brickbats coming his way for the Harleen Deol retire out decision, which I mean, you can. There are different ways of looking at it, and the retired out is always going to divide opinion. But I'll say one thing that I think steadily enough he will find his feet as well, and maybe you'll see a different UP Warriors next year. They could still go on to make the playoffs. You never know. They win their next two games. I think they should be there, perhaps, unless it comes down to net run rate. But I'd just say give them a bit of time. It's come together, for the first time, and it's just the way it is. So you can't all instantly click. If you cast your mind to the first season of the WPL as well, RCB had a team of stars, but it didn't necessarily reflect on the field. But with one season under their belt, they probably understood themselves a lot better and what would work or what needs to be done better, and then the results started to come. So you need a bit of time. The IPL as well is an example of this. You don't necessarily expect instant results. You just need to be a little patient, give it some time, and even if a team gets results with a new sort of setup instantly, it doesn't necessarily carry on consistently enough. So that's the nature of the beast, and I think in due course of time, I expect UP Warriors to be more competitive. So you never know; it could start in a week's time as well. But yeah, I think it's just important to for them to understand what works well for them, and then to keep backing it. So one good thing I really like is they've not chopped and changed their outfit. I am still surprised Deandra Doughton's not playing. I still feel they need to. She'll have a big role to play if they are to go deep. But Chloe Ryan's done a decent job. So where do you fit her in? That's another question. But outside that, um, it could be a tough season. But don't be surprised if it's completely different in a year's time.
Yeah, because I think as much as people love to sort of troll and make fun of UP Warriors, they aren't as bad of a unit as people sort of make them out to be. It's just a matter of time,
I
before
mean,
they find their mojo and can really turn things around.
I'll
Yeah,
put my hand
and
up. I had them as title winners this year. I really thought they'll probably Meg Lanning and Abhishek Nayak could take them to the title, and they had an outstanding auction. I don't think they could have done anything better in the auction. Once again, it just comes back to the first auction whether they could have got another Indian batter, because you look at the five big Indian batters here, or the five that's Shefali Verma, Smriti Mandana, Harmanpreet Kaur, Jamie Rodrigues, and Richa Ghosh. They've been split across three teams. So ideally, if those five were split across five teams, it could have been probably an even more level playing field, because having that Indian batter quality is massive. And we are talking of RCB struggling with that number three or four, that Indian player, when they already have Smriti and Richa as well in that combination. So it takes a bit of time for some of the younger players also to find their feet at this level. So I think it's just important to give them that run of games, and just keep the bit between the teeth. And look, the good thing is at least it's been so close that UP Warriors can still win their last two games and qualify. So that way, they're definitely not out of it yet by any means.
yeah, fingers crossed that they can sort of, turn their fortunes around. We'll take a few questions from our live chat itself. Sportsman goes on to ask us, do you think such pitches make, a T20 league watchable? One-off game is fine, but not the whole leg, sort of
Yeah.
playing out like this. So yeah, again, your thoughts, like a lot of us did have our apprehensions about Vadodara being chosen as one of the venues, but then, that's the nature of the beast, can't really question administrators and their decisions. But the pitch in Vadodara itself constantly coming under scrutiny and question. Yeah, again, questions there.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with these black soil pitches. The ball keeps low. Some of them can be really good to bat on as well, because if it's only consistently low bounce, but it's not stopping a whole deal in the pitch, you can still play your shots. So I think maybe with teams getting a better hang of how the pitch plays, they might be able to score a few more runs. But yeah, ideally you'd want slightly better surfaces, because 153 was made to look like a par plus total. That's not really ideal. I'm not for these heavy scoring pitches either, where bowlers are as good as bowling machines, but you ideally want a balance there somewhere in between, which you'd hope is the case in the coming games. I thought that was the case when RCB played Gujarat Giants, but maybe I'm just reading too much into the total that RCB got eventually. I'm all for 170, 180 pitches. I think they're just a good even contest between bat and ball. Just imagine how T20 has come by that 170, 180 says even contest. There was a time when 180 was a winning score on the flattest of pitches. So that's how the game has evolved. But yeah, in an ideal sense, you'd want a little more. I don't think it's been a minefield. I'll again say that it's not been a minefield where it's been heavily bowler friendly. But at the same time, you do hope that it's just a little more even. And again, watchable, I think, is the right word, because if you're just seeing the ball stopping and keeping low and teams not able to score a whole deal, then it's you're not going to lose a whole lot of wickets, but you're not able to score runs either. It becomes like one of those slow turners you see in a test match. So probably not ideal for T20 cricket. So hopefully that's not the case in the coming games, and uh, we see more of an even contest.
Yeah, I think as optimistic fans, spectators, onlookers, callers, whatever you want to, we will sort of hope that Surface has a lot more to offer. It doesn't make it entirely skewed to like either teams, and there's like a proper battle between bat and ball. Also, yeah, I think this question was something I did miss out. Apologies early on. Like, please share your thoughts on the Radha Yadav exclusion and Vaishnavi Sharma replacing her in the India team for the Tour of Australia. I didn't think it would be that much, a big of a talking point, because
Yeah.
Radha Yadav too, right, has been amongst the wickets in T20s, but then, sometimes her bowling hasn't been up to the mark. And India seems to have found an option with Vaishnavi Sharma, who's done well in that Sri Lanka series, and now, she is playing in the WPL as well. Radha obviously offers a lot with the bat, but sometimes her bowling can be concerning. Again, Surya, just over to you about this, selection aspect. And do you think it could also spell something for India as they, choose their squad for that T20 World Cup?
I think so. I think they're just probably looking ahead, looking at their options. They know what Radha Yadav brings to the fore. And one thing I'm really pleased about is India are going to be playing 5 more games now in South Africa. The series has been announced. So they get a lot more games to really work out their combination before the World Cup. I'm not surprised, simply because Radha wasn't there for the last series against Sri Lanka, but Vaishnavi was, and she got the full series. And you got Sri Charity as well. Ideally, yes, you want a little more batting ammunition too, because that is also important, especially if there's not a whole lot to choose between the bowling between two or more players. But in saying that, I think they probably want to give Vaishnavi an elongated run of games and see how she fares. The ODI squad, I was a little surprised that Vaishnavi was picked, but again, Radha isn't your first choice spinner in ODIs either. You've got Sri Charani and Deepti Sharma there, plus Neerana too. So they've got enough options. And of course, this is in Australia, so you're not going to be using all those spinners. Someone is going to miss out. And interestingly enough, they've got 3 off-spinning options now in their T20 squad, with Shreyanka Patil also coming back into the mix. So um, interesting in that regard. But I'm not overly surprised that Vaishnavi's made it ahead of Radha, simply because they're going with continuity. And look, for long, I think we've had massive issues with the lack of continuity, and India have just made a lot of almost playing musical chairs. One series someone plays, suddenly she's not there in the next one, and you wonder what's going on. So in that regard, it. I think this is a bit of a welcome change, and I think hopefully Vaishnavi goes well in Australia, and just gives them more of a selection headache as well, in terms of picking their squad once the time comes to do that for the World Cup.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans were upset with Radha Yadav getting excluded, because we did see glimpses of that performance come in the WPL as well. But again, I think I agree with you that they want to give the youngster in Vaishnavi Sharma, that sort of a longer rope, and see how she fares in Australian conditions and pitches. Fingers crossed, it's a good test for her, and we get to see her sort of excel as well. We have another. I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment. Why is scheduling so wayward? Teams play 3 games in 4 days and then none in a week. Case in point, UP Warriors. Doesn't it break the player momentum if they are on the winning way?
It does.
Couldn't
It does.
agree better, right? We have,
Yeah.
I think, the start of the live itself, we were just lamenting about what is the scheduling, why are the pitches playing out this way, and why are things the way it is. But Surya, if you just had to give like an answer to this.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Last year as well, I remember casting my mind back to last year. I thought it would be better for Delhi Capitals if they don't top the table and they finish second or third, because they had like an 8-day gap between their last league game and the final. So yeah, it is a big factor. There's no doubt about it. But in saying that, I'm a little surprised with these 3 games in 4 days. And things like that, or teams playing back-to-back games. But I think what the administrators have done is ensure that every team plays back-to-back games. So in that sense, it's not one or two teams who are actually going through this, but every team is. And I think they were also, to cut the administrators some slack too, they were hamstrung by, number one, the fact that you're playing in only two venues, because a lot of the other venues are, unfortunately, Chinnaswamy, and what's going on there is one of the reasons why there couldn't be games there. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure you'd have seen games there. And of course, there are other venues where they're getting ready for the men's T20 World Cup, and then there's another international series going on as well. And secondly, it's also got to do partly with the broadcasting as well. So when the men are playing, there is no WPL game, which I don't mind, simply because it gives the WPL its own space and its own window where you have people tuning in there, and that is what you want. So in that sense, I'm absolutely fine with it, to be very, very frank with you, because let ensure that you've got people tuning into the WPL, and this is the time to cash in. When India have just won a World Cup, this is the time for more audiences to turn towards women's cricket. So give them their own space where they can do it. And in an ideal scenario, I think you would have probably seen it happen in a separate window, but then there's scheduling, broadcasting, and different factors that come in. But yes, ideally, you don't want to see this, but I guess partly it's also a case of it is what it is. And it's tough on the teams, especially a team like UP Warriors at this stage. But you've got to deal with it and find a way out as a player and make the most of the break. Just take some time off, maybe switch off, go on a holiday, a short trip, detour somewhere maybe, and because that just rejuvenates you incredibly well to be able to resume and go forward again.
Yeah, I think a team like UP Warriors would really benefit from something like that. And almost, as we reach the end of our discussion as well, Soorya, I think Avinash asked us a very valid question of, who will be the top three teams who will qualify for the playoffs? He wants an early prediction coming in from us. Because let's just look at the context right now. Gujarat Giants, I think their momentum has taken a massive, boost with a win, right? A 45-run win. They have now gone up to the second position in the table. I don't know, somehow, Gujarat's campaign is eerily very similar to the campaign that India had, right, in the just concluded
Yes.
Women's ODI World Cup. Started off with 2 wins, lost 3 matches, and then, found that momentum. And the rest, as you know, is history. UP Warriors too, right? They've had so far like a very mixed bag sort of a season. 2 wins, versus Mumbai being so notable, and now slumping to a loss. So again, how do you see the rest of the league matches sort of play out? And yeah, if we could just get in your predictions for the playoffs too.
I mean, the other day I said Mumbai and UP, but they are the teams that have lost. So again, as I said, I'm clearly not good at this prediction game, and it's also because you just never know. Random things can happen in T20 leagues. I mean, suddenly you could just see a team like RCB that's been on a winning roll suddenly hit a roadblock too. So that's just how absurd it can be at times. But look, when I look at the scheduling, Gujarat Giants have two direct four-pointers against Delhi and Mumbai. They have completed their games against RCB. The other three teams are all playing RCB. So is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Because RCB are due a bad day. So at some stage, they're due a bad day. And you'd hope these teams will be hoping that it's against them, because that will give them a massive thrust towards the playoff spot. I know Mumbai Indians have lost four, but I just cannot see how this Mumbai Indians team doesn't make the playoffs. I'm still going to say Mumbai, and it's danger for the other teams if Mumbai starts picking up pace right now. So I still want to say Mumbai Indians will be one of those two teams. You could say it's stubborn. Don't go by the blue T-shirt that I'm wearing right now. It's got nothing to do with that. But it's just very hard for me. How can a team that has Nat Silverbrunt, Hayley Matthews, Amelia Kerr, Nicola Carey in this form, and Harmanpreet Kaur not make the playoffs? So I still want to think Mumbai Indians will make it, and I still feel if there is a team that can stop this RCB juggernaut, it is Mumbai Indians. So I want to say Mumbai Indians, and after yesterday, I want to say Gujarat Giants, because they've got those two crucial points, and they do not have to play RCB now. So um, probably going to tilt in that direction. I know DC is the one team I've not taken in these, from the first episode and now, because I just feel there are quite a few issues over there, and it depends on whether they can pick themselves up. If DC win tomorrow, it could be a different story altogether. And but that's where every game almost just changes the playoff equation considerably. So it's pretty tough. But I'm going to say MI, and I said the winner of Gujarat and UP. So I'll just stick with that. So Gujarat Giants.
Fair enough, Soorya. We have locked in your predictions. And in the live chat too, right? When I asked our viewers what were their predictions, Avinash clearly going on to say DC ko bahar karo. And I think even Shiv Prasad going on to say RCB, Mumbai, and DC as his picks. I think for me too, right? I think RCB definitely makes the cut. Like, yeah, they've already qualified,
They're already
which
there.
leaves
Yeah.
us with two other slots. I think it has to be Gujarat for me, and somewhere it might eventually come down to probably Mumbai and DC, right? Because Mumbai again has not looked the part as much as
Yeah.
like the defending champs, and that sort of a unit. That vibe hasn't come, although they have great players in the mix. And I think DC could spring in a surprise or two, led by Jenny Rodriguez. A lot riding on her too. Yeah.
There's one other very, very key factor. It's not a lot, but Mumbai Indians have a positive net run rate. So that could still be a very critical factor because the other teams outside RCB all have a negative net run rate. Again, it's just 0.046, but it's still in the positives. And if you win, they win one by a big margin, that's going to be huge. So you never know.
Yeah, I mean, predictions games are always fun because Sports Fan also goes on to add that I would want Delhi Capitals to snoop in. Maybe they get some form. RCB, DC, GG just want MI out is Sports Fan's prediction as well. But yeah, folks, we'll have to see how the rest of the matches play out. We still have a lot of league matches left, albeit, a lot of those break days coming in between, leading to a lot of frustration. But, we will still try to keep our spirits high, not just in the WPL, morning show, but in general too, right, about the league. But yeah, folks, on that note, I will draw curtains on this discussion. Thank you so much, Soorya, for joining me
Thank you,
across
Neha.
all these days. It was really, really
Absolute
fun
pleasure.
having
I
you
mean,
on.
I've been telling you for long that we've had so many discussions, but never on women's cricket. So I was really keen to do this the moment you reached out to me, and I'm so glad that we did. And yeah, I really hope that the WPL has a fitting end and it really picks up steam. So we're seeing a very close tournament this time. Hard to predict who's going to make it through, but I really hope that it just has a blockbuster finish. The tournament deserves it.
Absolutely. And yeah, folks, to all of you who joined in, thank you so much for your live comments. We will keep doing this through the rest of the WPL season as well. So yeah, make sure to subscribe to Never on the Back Foot if you're catching this stream later. And do share in comments, what do you make of this discussion? Follow Soorya on Twitter as well. But yeah, folks, until next time, stay safe, take care. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.